So I have a tradition. It's something I do at the beginning of every January. I do my best to scroll through film sites and film festival reviews to find the most intriguing, interesting movies that I'd most likely want to see. And though I do my best, every year I inevitably miss something. And granted, that's on a normal year. 2020, I don't have to tell you, that was just a different kind of year. More than half of the films I put on my list for 2020 were pushed into 2021. Like, looking at the list was like peering into a different reality. But still, when you're quarantined for months on end in your apartment, the only thing for me to do was to read, watch TV, and watch movies. So I started watching foreign films and older movies, and Criterion Channel became my best friend. But something else I did, I dug into the VOD releases like someone would dig into the bottom of a spicy nacho Dorito bag, getting those glorious crumbs. Totally random example. Yeah. Dan, this is going to be, you're going to have fun editing this. This is going to be interesting. To my surprise, there were a ton of VOD releases, movies straight to video, that I did not have on my 2020 list, the one that ended up being irrelevant. And actually, 2020 as a whole, there were actually a lot of great movies. Movies that didn't have blockbuster-sized marketing campaigns. Films that, if you were like me, you didn't see coming, that were actually really good. Which brings me to this video. I wanted to make a series of videos called Movies You Missed, highlighting all the movies in 2020 that kind of went straight to Amazon or to Netflix or to Hulu or to HBO Max that maybe you didn't catch or weren't aware of. And so now that we're kind of still stuck in our apartments, stuck at home, wearing our sweatpants, you're like, was there anything I missed? And yeah, there was a lot you missed.
Movies you missed.
You know, what this movie reminded me of most were sleepover stories. You know, the types of stories you tell under a blanket fort, face lit only by a dim flashlight, hearing the pitter-patter of the rain on the windows, stories where you talk about aliens and strange occurrences. Yeah, those kinds of stories. It's fitting that the movie opens on a retro TV that's broadcasting a Twilight Zone-esque fictional TV show called Paradox Theater. We are then transported to a 1950s New Mexico Americana town, something you'd probably see in like a Hitchcock film. So some of you are already thinking like New Mexico, 50s, Roswell, aliens. And you're on the right track. But the reason I'm reminded of sleepovers and campfire stories is because The Vast of Night is a movie about stories, and more specifically about having your story heard, being listened to. The story of Vast of Night could easily be a tale that your friend tells under that very blanket fort. It has that feel. I read a joke on Letterboxd reviewing the film basically saying this should have just been a podcast. And they're kind of right. The Vast of Night is a series of conversations, tales told to our protagonists. It comes off very much like a radio drama. The camera never cuts to a flashback or a dramatization. We, as the viewer, are locked into the room with our protagonist, forced to listen. Key, listen. In fact, this movie places such an emphasis on listening that it often cuts to black, where we only have audio. The film is forcing us, you have no other choice, to hear what the characters have to say. And that's not to say this is a visually uninteresting film. It doesn't cut the black because it has nothing to show. Actually, there's a lot to show. First-time director Andrew Patterson utilizes a lot of tracking shots, or oneers, throughout the film, through the winding streets of their town. A lot of this conversation between Faye and Everett to open the movie is bathed in shadow, and there's only street lamps to hold back the night. And while a lot of this film, especially the setup, is filmed in these long, winding tracking shots, later in the film this is juxtaposed when Faye is a switchboard operator, while Everett is a radio disc jockey, which is further emphasis on listening. After the previously alluded to walk and talk, the mission kicks off when a strange and mysterious sound interrupts Everett's radio broadcast. The station is then flooded with accounts and reports of other strange sights and, you guessed it, sounds. Our plucky protagonists, with all their 1950s charm and gusto, chase down these accounts and try and find anyone who might know what's going on in the Vast of Night. And the people they encounter are people who wouldn't be readily listened to. The people with the most interesting stories, who have a firm grasp on what's actually happening, are people who would be normally ignored in the 1950s. The script does a really good job of giving you just enough information to piece the puzzle together yourself, and it really helps you feel like you're participating with Faye and Everett as they track down all these stories. So why the emphasis on hearing? Why is the film cutting to black? Why are we not seeing the people telling their tales? Well, it's because the 1950s was an era of paranoia and suspicion. Everyone was buttoned up and tidy. It was like they were projecting this performance of themselves. But America wasn't this buttoned up place. There's a lot of strange, unknown, really shady stuff going on, whether that's actually aliens or not. And I think that's why this movie often cuts to black, because it's forcing us to really listen to the people we have so often ignored. If anything, The Vast of Night is a reminder to listen. So if you're looking for a creepy story to tell in the dark that has shades of Twilight Zone and the X-Files, things that used to be Vials, I really recommend this movie. There's a lot to like. And the best thing is you can watch it on Amazon Prime. It's like right there on your TV, like ready to watch. And once you watch it, come on back to this video, leave a comment, let us know what you thought. Dan, you can cut. You can cut now. You can cut, Dan. I hope that's something. I really do.